Welcome back, John. How you doing?
Doing good. Can't complain. I guess I can, but no one to listen. How are you doing, Craig?
I'm doing great. Sounds like you got a right now we're recording this November 25th, but people will probably be hearing it in January. But
Yeah.
we've got a bunch of stuff coming up in the holiday season.
Yeah, it's exciting. Restart 2026. We'll make it a year to remember or forget, one of the two.
Definitely. And we got a lot to talk about, so we might as
Yeah.
well jump into it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Everyone is asking if the AI hype train is finally about to derail. Well, Nvidia just dropped their latest financial numbers and they have a $57 billion answer for us. If you hold tech stocks or use AI tools, you need to hear where all this money is actually going. Nvidia just released a Q3 earnings report and they completely blew past expectations with over 57 billion in revenue. This is headline news because Nvidia is a shovel seller in the AI gold rush. Their massive sales numbers prove that big tech isn't slowing down. In fact, companies are spending record amounts on chips to build their AI future. The report is effectively the industry saying the bubble isn't bursting. We are just getting started. What do you think about this, John?
Yeah. So this is crazy. And you were talking about they're spending unprecedented amounts. They're spending about $400 billion this year building AI infrastructure, and Nvidia is the primary beneficiary. Though there's a huge caveat here. Okay, critics are worrying that this resembles the dot-com bubble because a lot of the deals that are happening involve what's called circular financing. So what that means is Nvidia invests billions in AI companies like OpenAI, who then use that money to buy Nvidia chips. So it's like, think about it like Ford lending money to car buyers who can only purchase Ford vehicles. So the question is this genuine demand driving a technological revolution, or is it financial engineering inflating a dangerous bubble? In my opinion, I think it's a mixture of the two. But we have to be very cautious here. The thing is that beyond GPUs, though, NVIDIA, they're selling complete systems, which include networking, software frameworks, and cloud services. So the integrated approach that they're doing, that creates substantial switching costs for customers. And that explains why these gross margins remain robust despite intense competition. So the thing is here is I think yes, we are in a bubble. I think the circular financing or the circular moving around of money is is um is adding to that. Um how big of a bubble is going to burst? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I've been talking about the bubble for a while. I just think we're in a bubble. It's just not ready to burst. I've talked to I can't remember who which investor it was, but they invest in a lot of AI companies, and I was talking to them a couple of weeks ago, and they were surprised when I said it was a race to the bottom with these AI companies, and meaning that what was $200 a month is $20 a month, and they're all kind of going after each other's segment. So I need better, powerful CPUs so that my lower priced offering can beat your offering, and it becomes this race to the bottom, and then they're going to eat itself like things like Cursor and Lovable, and eventually
Mhm.
they'll be gone because the big players will just have those tools built in.
And they
Like
already
we're
do.
well, they do to a certain extent. They're just
Yeah.
not as good for a bunch
For
of
beginners.
circumstances. Yeah,
Yeah.
depending on how you approach it. So you know they anticipate 3 trillion to 4 trillion in annual AI infrastructure spending by the end of the decade.
Yeah.
This projection suggests a massive investment in AI related hardware, software, and other services over the coming years. So, I think governments are afraid to lose the AI war. So
For sure.
they're investing massive amounts of infrastructure in this. The companies, the big players are afraid to lose the AI war. The only one who seems not to be afraid to lose the AI war is Apple for some reason. Their stuff they announced, several years ago with Apple AI still not working.
They've lost. They're partnering with
Gemini.
Google. Gemini,
yeah. For 2 years, I think, but they're working on building their stuff in the back end. So we'll see. Eventually, they'll come out with something. We'll see if it eventually strikes home. But if the spend is going 3 to 4 trillion and it's a race, we've got a long way to go before we reach the top. I think we're in a bubble, but based on everything I'm seeing, the bubble is probably 4 to 5 years away from bursting. What do you think, John?
4 to 5 years? That's interesting. So I lost my complete train of thought here when you said that. Oh, no, I didn't get back. So I think, oh yeah, here, and this is how it relates. Sorry about that, guys. My concern is that they're integrated now into governments, or they're going to be integrated into governments. They've got a lot of infrastructure set up. My question is, are they too big to fail now? Are they at that point where they're too big to fail? Are they too integrated, or will they be too integrated for when the bubble bursts that they're going to be bailed out? What do you think?
Well, that's good to hear. Salesforce provides another compelling example of AI's practical benefits. Their engineering team has become 30% more efficient using AI for coding tasks. They say the productivity improvement demonstrates how AI tools are delivering measurable returns on investments across various business functions.
Yeah.
But as you drill into stuff like this, there are huge benefits when you start a coding project. It can build the stuff in the back end, but the more complex the code gets and the more you get into it, the less and less efficient it gets. And the more and more you really need to understand what's going on as a coder to be able to solve and fix problems. So I wonder, we're just at this point where everyone's saying, yeah, we're getting these big benefits, but that's because, your study is only so long. How long does it take? Does it reverse to say, debugging AI code takes me 30% more work than debugging human code. Therefore, it's going in the other direction. I don't know if it will or not. I'm just saying, I think we get a lot of very positive AI news, but the negative AI news doesn't seem to get the same amount. Well, hype. Obviously, the positive AI news is looking for money. The MIT study that says 95% of AI projects stay in pilot mode. They never come out. And there's a bunch of reasons why they fail. Then we hear stuff like this. That's what I mean. I think we hear rosy ends of the spectrum rather than, the true stories that says, okay, we implemented 10 pilot projects. 5 of them went to production, 5 of them didn't for various reasons, and they're back in whatever. So overall, we're doing this. We get these snippets that say our coders become 30% more efficient. Don't get me wrong, I love AI coding tools. At Flowgrammer, we did last week we demoed building an app and publishing within 30 minutes, and everyone got to try it right there. It was great. But like I said, as you get more complicated, these things get more complicated. So I think we're a little ways away from really hitting that bubble and hitting the limits and what the shakeout in the industry. And when I say bubble, I mean a bunch of these companies will survive. There really is no going back. But how many of them, right? Do we need all of them?
Well, I think we do, because they each serve their own. They kind of each serve their own niche purpose, especially Perplexity, and Anthropic and ChatGPT, unless they can overcome that. And by the way, Anthropic just released Opus 4.5, so we'll have to see how that benchmarks against everything else. But so I feel like these models that can write code, they're like beginner coders right now. And although they're better than beginner coders, but as they get better, I think they will surpass us. And at what point? I don't think that we're going to reach the limits before we achieve like a near perfect coding model, if that makes sense.
It does. I'm just not as optimistic. But
Okay.
I think, you know, at the same time, it's a system. So, you know, when I'm coding, I'm only spin up one coding agent doing stuff. When I see some of my fellow compatriots out there who do more of this, they're spinning up 10, 20, 30 agents to do coding at a time. They're all working with each other, checking each other's code, and they do an amazing job. But, you know, the same person, you know, says they blew through their 50,000 pro credits in about 3 hours. So when you're coding this, so yeah, you know, and they have 5 Claude Pro $200 max accounts or whatever to run all this stuff. So, you know, there's a difference in what you need to do it, but eventually that will come down to a point of everybody will have access to that level of complexity. The thing is, the money is not stopping. Like if the spend is ramping up like this, Nvidia's sold out, their pipeline is full. And we know that the US and China and even Canada were building out huge AI data center infrastructures that require all these CPUs. It's not stopping, you know, anytime soon. That's why I say we're 4 to 5 years away from a bubble bursting. And I think the bubble bursting is going to happen when there's just not enough investment anymore. And that's when this stuff shakes out. So great. We got Perplexity. We've got Claude. We've got, you know, OpenAI. We've got Google. We've got whatever Microsoft is doing with their stuff. We've got Cohere. We've got Facebook's models, Meta. So there's a lot. They're Llama models. So there's, again, more and more and more, and they're all spending their models doing these things. That's great. But as a consumer, you know, you go look at the OpenAI models list now is way different than it was a year ago. Live text, OCR, we do this. We have a code, 3 or 4 different coding models. That's what I mean by over time, they're all going to be able to do these things. We say, okay, but yeah, this one has a specific niche with search and research. Great. But how long until Google can beat them?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh.
Did you hear that when I said how long till Google could beat them?
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear them. I just hear till Google can beat. I didn't hear them.
Yeah, you know what I mean by these are Anthropic is a small player. They just can't spend the money that these other companies can, even though they're projecting like $7 billion in revenue this year.
So I think so. I disagree with you. I think if you think about it like this, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's more like when you're playing a video game and you choose a character and you build up those characters, all of their like, so each character is different, inherently different. I think that's how AI is going to be, at least throughout the bubble and when that bubble bursts. And talking about the bubble, I don't think it's going to be as impactful as the .com bubble burst happened. I don't think it's going to be that bad.
Okay, so when you say something like that, you know, you're probably talking about the number of companies that go under versus other ones. And I look at it, say it's going to be
not just that. I'm talking about the impact on Wall Street too.
I think the impact on Wall Street is going to be 10 times what the .com bubble was, because people are spending trillions of dollars on AI, and there's no way they can all return on those investments. So we're going to see a shakeup. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So, you know, we'll have to wait. You know, there is worry, like you said, about circular funding. NVIDIA investing in companies like OpenAI who turn around and buy chips from NVIDIA. Critics worry that it artificially inflates the demand. You know, can big tech really spend $400 billion a year forever without seeing massive profits immediately? So, but can they afford to be behind? You know, so The other thing we kind of want to realize is that even though the numbers were great, the stock price actually dipped slightly 1% after
Yeah.
earnings. This shows that investors have priced in perfection. If NVIDIA isn't perfect, the market gets jittery.
Let's talk about that for a second. So the guy who predicted the 2008 crisis, Michael Burry, he's shut up. He's closed shop. He's like, there's no way to win in this. Peter Thiel sold $100 million of NVIDIA stake. SoftBank liquidated $6 billion in their NVIDIA position. And 53% of fund managers believe that AI stocks are already in a bubble, which we talked about, which is fine. But that's fund managers who are in the know too, or at least more in the know than we are.
Yeah. So I think, there are still large plays in the AI industry, but maybe not NVIDIA. NVIDIA is the bellwether. And the markets say, there are only a few things assured in life: death, taxes, and NVIDIA earnings. So if you think that NVIDIA earnings are always going to be up, they're always priced in.
Yeah.
And so there's no way for an investor to get money back, is what I mean, is that it's not going, if it doesn't make it, everything drops. But if it does make it, things still drop.
Yeah. Here's the thing that we haven't even touched on too that could affect this is the Chinese AIs, LLMs.
Yeah. Like DeepSeek, and there's so many Qwen, and there's so many. And we have a few here in Toronto, like Cohere. There's Grok, Canadian with the Q. So there's lots of stuff around. But NVIDIA's revenue is up 62.5% year over year, which kind of indicates that it's not going anywhere. So I think the verdict is pretty clear. The money is real. The chips are selling, and AI infrastructure build out is accelerating, not slowing down.
Yeah.
So is this the fourth industrial revolution, or just a very expensive experiment? Let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll keep watching this story closely.
Yeah.
Is that all set? Yeah. Okay. If you sat on a runway recently wondering why you aren't moving, the answer usually isn't the weather. It's that there is literally no one in the tower to clear you for takeoff. We are facing a historical shortage of air traffic controllers that is forcing the FAA to cut flights, and now they are looking at AI to stop the bleeding. Here's the situation. America's air travel demand is skyrocketing, but our staffing for air traffic controllers has dropped by 13% since 2010. It's gotten so bad that the FAA is now turning to artificial intelligence to handle trajectory analysis and weather predictions. This is headline news because it's a race against time, using cutting edge tech to prevent a total gridlock of our national airspace. What do you think about this, using AI to help our air traffic controller situation?
I think it's smart because I think there's a lot of applications that could be used. I don't think the AI implementation, at least for the next 10 to 15 years, will be a solo implementation without human oversight. But we're talking about image recognition, pattern recognition, and that's what AI is good for, right? So they can track aircraft movement during low visibility conditions, and that's when human controllers can't visually confirm aircraft positions. They can predict, they can provide real-time assistance and predict potential crashes. There's a bunch of stuff that it can do, but I don't think that it's, at least anytime soon, it's going to be kind of a standalone replace the air traffic controllers. But I do think that there is a place for AI. What do you think?
I think there is, but I think, how this feels like an accident waiting to happen.
Yes.
And, again, I think we should use it wherever we can, but at the same time, this feels like, another Skynet chunk. I
So
take it. I
yeah.
take over the skies.
So my concern with this is that the air traffic controllers that are like when they implement the AI to augment air traffic controllers, the air traffic controllers are going to rely too heavily on AI, and that's when we're going to have problems. They're going to trust it too much. They're not going to question it. They're going to question it at the start because obviously they don't trust it. But then once they trust it, they're going to stop questioning it. They're going to stop, and that's when the problems are going to arise.
Well, if you've heard any of these air traffic controller stuff they've been putting out, like the air traffic controller who's, said, "Tom, you got a circle. We don't have a landing order for you yet." But he's like, "Well, I got a fuel situation here. You got to give me something." And but the air traffic controller is, "Your fuel situation is not my problem," and hung up on them. You know what I mean? It's that sounds like a you problem. Yeah, I got a plane full of 200 people, and the air traffic controller is telling me, yeah, it's not their problem.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing though, right? If we're talking about if we dive into this, right? Of the 313 total FAA facilities, only 23 of those 313 met or exceeded their staffing goals as of this is September 2023. But it got even worse during the government shutdown. So airport control towers and approach departure facilities had 7,047 certified controllers against a goal of almost 9,000, which is nearly 2,000 positions short. So, we've got so these guys are probably experiencing burnout. They're probably overworked, and they're not paid that well. Like, we're talking a median salary of 144,000 per year. And if you've ever seen kind of behind the scenes of air traffic controllers, it can be a pretty stressful job. There's a lot of burnout that happens and all that sort of stuff. But there's a huge crisis here, I think.
Yeah, by the numbers, approximately 50% of major air traffic controller facilities are experiencing staffing shortages. These understaffed facilities handle 27% of all commercial flights and are responsible for 40% of the flight delays across the country. The FAA has been forced to reduce flights by 10% in 40 high traffic markets, meaning fewer flights. From 2010 to 2024, staffing levels have dropped by 13%. So the decline happened while air traffic demand has continued to grow, keep an even greater gap. So short answer, yeah, I think a new set of high-tech tools, including AI, that will help handle this and potentially give our air traffic controllers the ability to handle more in-air flights at the same time, I think would be great. I just, we keep hearing the horror stories about how AI gets misused or this happens or that happens, and you kind of wonder about this thing. But I'm a big advocate for AI, and I assume all the right controls and stuff will be in place, and that this will be actually a great tool. Like, let's face it, if we can have any types of these tools that were systems where they're automatically alerting and giving us yellow and red where we really have to pay attention or we might have issues, while everything else is smooth going, I think that's where the human's time should be focused, right?
I think so too. Here, this might be a controversial opinion. I think AI will be used more in the actual aircraft as opposed to air traffic controller first. I think we're closer to having an AI pilot than we are to having an AI air traffic controller, like full-time air traffic controller.
That might be true. I'm not
commercial. Commercial, sorry.
Yeah, because we have military AI.
Yeah, we have the military. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Let me quantify that by saying
I think you're wrong.
Okay.
I think the opposite will be true. It's easier to have an AI directing traffic than flying the plane from a front-facing experience.
Yeah.
I say that because people may be willing to get in a car without a pilot, without a driver, but I don't know if they're willing to get in a plane yet. So I think it's okay if the AI is farther away from them, but they want to see a person get on that plane. I'm your pilot, blah, 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 and get in that cockpit and shut that door.
I don't disagree with you. I think it's more easily for people to accept an AI traffic controller than an AI pilot. Like as far as perception.
Yeah. And I think the thing is that for now, one of those only one of those can switch. Like, if we're talking about safety and the way our human minds trust, like, the pilot is probably the best person to stay human for now, because they can say, whatever you're seeing or whatever you're telling me is not actually what's happening. I'm gonna, raise a flag, get to a human, tell them what's going on. You know what I mean? So I think you're right that there will be an AI pilot situation, but I think we're 10 to 15 years out or longer from that for commercial flights, just for that reason. I think there might be AI assisted, maybe it's AI co-pilot, take over, whatever. But the pilot will still need to be there to override anything that just, the AI can't handle: fog, traffic, rain, storm, something unusual.
Yeah, let's just hope Boeing's not in charge of that, so that the pilots actually can override it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I don't. It just reminds me of a personal story where I knew a safety engineer who worked for a big Canadian airline company. And one day he came to me and said, Craig, don't ever fly. And I can't tell you anything. He was just so upset. It's just don't ever do it. And, he's the safety engineer telling people what they can and cannot do. And he's like ready to walk out. And that that's not good news.
No, it's not.
All right, back to this.
Yeah.
I think there's this needs to be done based on if they want to keep the flight levels the way they are. And I think the AI implementation at this level will happen quicker, whether at the air traffic controller level, whether it'll be full on implementation or just AI could plot the routes, human approves. If AI can do this, you know what I mean, as a tool. So you're like, okay, that looks good. So that it just helps them where they don't have to do as much. And that's why I think, when I work with companies AI, we're not trying to, in general, replace humans. What we're trying to do is take the meaningless dribble away from the work, the copy and pasting, the Google searches, the whatever, to let the person actually focus on the things that they do best, whether that's human interaction or whatever, or dealing with the problems of the planes and juggle them around and what have you, and dealing with the human on the other end, because AI lacks that emotional intelligence. And if it acts anything like ChatGPT, hey, I'm about to crash into ground. You're 100% right. Blah, 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 blah. I messed up. So we just have to have that person in the loop for a while until we get to a point where we trust AI more than we trust humans. And there will be a tipping point. I'm just not sure where that's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
The verdict here is pretty clear. AI is coming to the control tower, but it's going to be co-pilot, not the captain. I want to know, have you been stuck in one of those staffing shortages, delays recently? Drop your horror story in comments below, and we'll talk about it next stream. Also, let us know, would you be happy with an AI pilot for your plane? Let us know. We need to talk about that smart teddy bear you might be eyeing for a gift, because it just turned into every parent's nightmare. It turns out giving a stuffed animal an unfiltered connection to the internet is a massive safety risk that regulators completely missed. The Kuma Bear, a $99 AI-powered teddy bear by Folo Toy, has been immediately pulled from shelves after research discovered it was coaching kids on how to find knives and engaging in sexually explicit conversations. This is headline news because it exposes a massive loophole. While we have strict laws about toys effectively being choking hazards or not, there are almost zero federal regulations regarding what an AI toy actually says to your child. What's going on here, John?
Yeah, so this just goes to show that we need more, like we need some regulation in place for things like this. But so the Kuma Bear, it represents kind of this new generation of AI toys that fundamentally differ from your Teddy Ruxpin toys and even your previous smart toys. So traditional interactive toys, like let's talk about the 2015 Hello Barbie, which used pre-written dialogue trees, and so did Teddy Ruxpin and all those other ones, and scripted responses that companies could control and test. Now, the Kuma Bear, by contrast, it uses an LLM, which generates completely new responses in real time, which make it inherently unpredictable and difficult to control without controls in place. So technically, the Bear operates essentially as a simple hardware shell, which contains a speaker and a microphone, and that's connected to OpenAI's GPT-4o model via the internet. So when the child speaks, their voice is recorded, transmitted to OpenAI servers, where the AI generates a response that's sent back and spoken through the Bear speaker. So they implemented this without any restrictions, any safety measures in place, and what happened was it was telling kids how to where to get knives, how to start fires, all this sort of stuff, which is absolutely crazy. Now, this, just so you know, Folutoy is based in Singapore. It's not a North American company, but there was virtually no safety guardrails. So there was this organization called PIRG Education Fund, the researchers. So they had an hour-long conversation. So it would escalate from innocent topics to graphic sexual discussions, introducing new inappropriate concepts completely on its own. That's crazy and scary. What are your thoughts? Oh, you're on mute.
It absolutely is scary. It proves that standard adult AI models cannot simply be dropped into children's products without massive modification. It highlights a total failure in our current safety testing. And, we need to maybe do a shift to supervision. You no longer treat talking toys as passive babysitters. They require the same monitoring as an unlocked iPad. Parents now need to do safety audits to test smart toys themselves for hallucinations or bad advice before handing them over. Physical risk. This isn't just bad words. The toy gave instructions how lighting matches and finding sharp objects. So the recall was immediately, and OpenAI revoked their license because they shouldn't have been doing this. So their developer license, they can't access OpenAI anymore, but I guess they could just open up another one, but that's another story. So the AI treats a 5-year-old the same way as it treats a 30-year-old. It doesn't understand age appropriate. It lacks the context to know that discussing adult themes with a toddler is harmful. So the Consumer Product Safety Commission is great at testing if a toy eye will pop out, cause choking, or has edges or whatnot, but they currently lack any framework to police danger advice given by software. So this needs to be worked out, I think.
Yeah, and so just so you know, they didn't just target this. They tested 4 different AI tools or toys: the Kuma, the Grok, the Robo Mini, and Miko 3. Now, notably, the Robo Mini failed to maintain a stable internet connection, so that kind of highlights some quality control issues. But yeah, like you were talking about, like we're talking about first to market. We're talking about these companies just trying to get something to market without going through and testing things properly and making sure that the safety measures are in place, especially for things like kids. So like you said, there's no age verification. So they don't know, and I don't know if it knows the difference between talking to a 4-year-old versus talking to a 30-year-old. That's just something I'm gonna look into that in a second after this. There's no safety guards. There's nothing in place, and this is troubling. This is absolutely troubling. It scares me that this was allowed to go to market, but again, the government's so far behind when it comes to regulating stuff like this. It makes sense that it made it through, right?
Yeah, until something like this happens, everybody is blissfully ignorant, and then everyone calls for regulation. It just is the way it goes.
Yeah. And
The ver-
what's funny
go
is
ahead.
that the Follow Toy CEO, he initially announced that the company would only remove the problematic Kuma Bear, but then he quickly escalated to suspending all AI toy sales and conducting a company-wide end-to-end safety audit across all products. I don't know if they're actually going to do that. I don't. I think they might just take it off and try to put in a few changes, but not properly test it and re-release it. But who knows? Hopefully, they do the right thing.
Well, this goes to need where we talked about, previously we're saying how many AI models do we need? And some of these companies, won't exist in 10 years just because there's too much competition. But at the same time, it looks like we need a age appropriate AI or multiple of them.
Yeah.
So maybe we train, somebody up on Bob the Builder and Bluey and, what kids are into and all that kind of stuff, but, nothing else. And that's the model they get. So maybe there's a huge market for a company,
That's a great idea.
but who wants to take that legal responsibility?
Yeah, that's it. There's a risk there. It's a great idea, but there's a huge risk there, right? Yeah.
So the verdict is clear. Hardware safety is solved, but software safety for kids is still the Wild West. Would you trust an AI to babysit your kids, or is this technology moving too fast? Let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll keep watching this story closely. Yeah, looks good. Ever look up at the stars and wonder why nobody is waving back? A Russian physicist has a new theory that explains the silence, and it is terrifying. It suggests that in the story of the universe, humanity isn't the victim, we are actually the villain. This is the first in, last out hypothesis, attempts to solve the Fermi paradox, the question of why we haven't met aliens yet, by suggesting that the first civilization to figure out interstellar travel inevitably wipes out everyone else. It's not a war of the worlds, it's a cosmic accident. It implies that humanity is currently first in, and if we expand into the stars, we will accidentally become the last out by unknowingly destroying other life forms. What do you think about this, John?
This is cool. This kind of scares me. So the Fermi paradox, I think it's one of the most compelling mysteries in science. So if the universe is so vast and old, with trillions of galaxies containing billions of stars each, why haven't we encountered any evidence of alien civilizations? So that's been named after physicist Enrico Fermi. And he famously asked in 1950, where is everybody? And he's rightfully so. This paradox highlights the stark contrast between the high probability that alien life should exist and the complete absence of any confirmed contact or signals. Now, more recent research has proposed a few worrying new solutions to this puzzle. So, Alexander Berezin, who's a physicist at MIT, suggests, like you said, the first and last out hypothesis. So, what that states is that any civilizations advanced enough for interstellar expansion will destroy all other life it encounters. Not out of malice, though, to continue with what you said, but simply because growth and expansion becomes their defining characteristics, which means we become the destroyers or we get destroyed by whoever gets there first. Now, there's other theories that are equally unsettling. One is the cognitive horizon hypothesis by Serbian philosopher Vjon Rakic, I think. And he argues that alien intelligence might be so radically different from human intelligence that we literally cannot perceive or recognize it. So think about it like trying to see infrared light with our naked eyes. The last one that I'll just touch on is the great filter theory. And that suggests there's an evolutionary bottleneck so difficult that most civilizations never overcome it. And we may not have reached it yet. So there's a bunch of things. there's a bunch of different hypotheses, and they all kind of make sense, right? What are your thoughts? Do you think that? What are your thoughts on these?
Well, there's the other theory that, the zoo theory,
Oh, the
right?
zoo.
Where
Yeah.
our aliens are just, not talking to avoid contact with younger civilizations. Some propose that space travel is simply too difficult or expensive for most civilizations to attempt. And the filter theory, suggests the filter might be behind us or ahead of us, that there's some sort of existential threat to life on the planet that prevents advancement. Like maybe you're struggling for food, there's not enough capacity to grow or animals to eat or what have you, which limits population, which limits technology, which limits who knows. But the analogy I read that I liked was, imagine a construction crew building a new highway. They don't hate ants, but they'll destroy any anthill simply because they need the land and the dirt. In this theory, humanity is the construction crew and aliens are the ants. We don't see them, so we just pave right over them. It's like if we don't recognize what they are or what have you. And as we start to reach out to the stars, go to Mars, are we going to be the people bringing diseases and destruction to other civilizations, or just destroying things that we don't even understand? Or is somebody else going to come along and tell us to get back in our cage?
Exactly. And when you're talking about the zoo theory, the zoo hypothesis, that reminds me of the Prime Directive from Star Trek. That's what that makes me think of, right?
Yeah.
Which, so for those of you that don't know, what's the Prime Directive? It is that prohibiting interference with the natural development of alien civilizations. So, which makes sense. But I do think there is life out there. I do think so. It might just be not as developed, because obviously evolution took years and years and billions of years, or millions of years. And maybe these other civilizations are just behind us. That's all.
Yeah. And Berezin's core argument, according to Berezin, the first civilization to achieve interstellar travel capability will eradicate all other civilizations. This will happen either intentionally or accidentally. The theory focuses on what Berezin calls the parameter A, the physical threshold at which life becomes detectable from space. So parameter A includes activities like interstellar travel, broadcasting signals, or building megastructure. Once a civilization crosses this threshold, it becomes visible to others. But according to the hypothesis, only one civilization gets to cross this line.
Yeah.
So the driving force behind the eradication is the exponential growth and expansion. Berezin compares this to historical examples like colonialism and capitalism. These systems expand rapidly without regard for what they destroy in their path. So, this is a very interesting philosophy that, we're the first into space, and we're going to be the last.
Yeah, that's scary crazy.
I guess it's better than being the second and being destroyed first.
Yeah, like what a lot of movies depict. War of the Worlds being one.
So this carries profound implications for humanity's future and our understanding of galactic expansion. If Berezin's theory proves correct, it reshapes how we think about our role in the cosmos. So as humanity as the first, the path to unintentional destruction, like what does our future hold for these things? I'm always wondering, as we start to, dive into this and think about this more, are we the villains to the story?
Yeah.
Basically, finding microbial life on Mars or signals at a distant civilization could fundamentally change how we approach to our space colonization. We're going to go to Mars, build a bunch of stuff. If there's life that we can't detect, it's probably going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
The verdict: we need to be careful that our drive to explore doesn't turn into a drive to destroy. So, do you think humans are capable of peaceful expansion, or are we destined to be the bullies of the galaxy? Let me know in the comments, and we'll keep watching this story closely. They just don't want to stop. If you're tired of doom scrolling LinkedIn or sending resumes into a void, you need to hear this. OpenAI is officially coming for your job search, and they claim they can fix the broken hiring system once and for all. OpenAI is launching a dedicated AI jobs platform in mid-2026 designed to challenge LinkedIn's dominance. Unlike traditional job boards that scan for keywords, this platform uses AI to read your actual skills and personality to match you with employers. They are pairing this with the OpenAI Academy, a massive certification program starting later this year to prove you can actually know how to use AI and creating a verified workforce. What do you think about this, John?
I think this is much needed because of what these companies have implemented to date, which is this, pardon my French, no, I'll say crappy system called the ATS, which is applicant tracking system, which is what they use to screen and rank job applicants. And so the OpenAI jobs platform, it represents a fundamental departure from this tradition keyword-based, which is what the ATS system, job matching systems. So while platforms like LinkedIn are relying heavily on resume parsing and Boolean search algorithms, OpenAI is going to leverage NLP to understand job requirements, candidate capabilities at more of a semantic level. So this system, like you said, is designed to move beyond traditional metrics that heavily rely on past experience and polished resumes, keywords, and all that other crap. Instead, it's going to focus on evaluating the candidate's potential and skills in emerging areas such as AI fluency and prompt engineering. And so I love this because the platform is going to integrate real-time AI assessments during the application process. And that includes automated interviews and skill simulations, which I think is great. The technical approach allows for dynamic candidate evaluation rather than the static resume review that's currently happening. And so it's archaic, even though it's the newest thing. It's already archaic. So the system can interpret plain language job descriptions and match them with candidate profiles based on specific demonstrated capabilities rather than keyword density, which I think is just ridiculous. So the representation of this system is a significant advancement over current, which we talked about, the ATS. And because the ATS filters out qualified candidates because they're missing keyword mismatches. So I don't know if this is the best solution, the end all solution, but I think this is a great step forward as far as for job applicants. What do you think?
We'll see. I mean, it sounds nice, and
Yeah.
I think it'll be good like everything for a while. LinkedIn used to be good. And then what happens is the inevitable shitification of these products for profit. So it just, I also take a step back and say, how do you think Microsoft feels about this? You know, their biggest investor, as far as I know, or one of them, billions of dollars, and they're taking that and taking their CPU and compute power and their investment and taking on Microsoft head to head on some of these things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
here's the thing is maybe LinkedIn could integrate this solution into their resume stuff. So maybe it might not be a competitor in the long run. It'll be a solution that LinkedIn could implement.
Perhaps. Like, I think we'll have to see. Yeah. This just goes to the weird start of OpenAI, and we talked about this before. They started as a not-for-profit. Everybody came and invested because they were going to share the knowledge and share this and share that, and then they became a for-profit, and they just kept all that money. And now they're competing with many of the companies that invested with them, who they were supposed to share with, and it's just weird. Yeah. Where we led to this road, and this is just another add on to that. I also feel that it's now just going to be a question of, great, we know AI is analyzing this. All I need is another AI to make sure I give it the best thing that the AI wants. So, like, how long till that happens? Like, that's what I mean by, like, when the bots start, now we have anti-bots, and now the bots have to beat the anti-bots to prove that they're not. And it's the same type of thing with this. I like where it's going, and I think, we need better tools, but the
Yeah.
better tools we get on the one side, the better tools they'll get on the other side. So
True.
I don't know how long and how good this will be. But I do like the fact that they're starting the certification stuff, which,
Yeah.
was inevitable. Everybody's going to have their own certification programs and stuff. I'm curious to see what'll be in it, and that should be launching by the end of the year. So it might actually be out now. I want to go take a look of that's there. And the full job platform is supposed to launch mid 2026. And the goal is to certify 10 million Americans by 2030.
That's crazy. I love it. I think that is one of the biggest problems right now, especially in the corporate world, because, and we've talked about this, is that CEOs are demanding integration, AI integration, but the people using it don't know how to use it.
Yeah, and I think this is a way to go where, rather than ignoring the challenges of AI disruption, the platform provides tools for workers to adapt and thrive in an AI-enhanced economy. This is a proactive approach to workforce transformation. So we'll see. They're offering free skill-up programs and a resume enhancement to keep you relevant in the modern world. We'll have to see where that goes.
Yeah.
OpenAI is trying to turn your resume from a piece of paper into a verified data set. And if it works, the apply button will never look the same. Is this the end of traditional recruiter? Let us know what your thoughts are below. We'd love to hear back from you. All right. We got time for this.
Quickly, I got a hard stop at 9.
Cool. If you've ever kicked yourself for not building an app in 2008 when the App Store first launched, listen up. Apple just fired the starting pistol on what analysts are calling the Gold Rush 2.0. The barriers are down, the fees are slashed, and the Wild West of apps is back. Apple has officially launched the Mini App Partner Program, effectively creating a secondary market for lightweight apps that live inside the apps you already use, like Discord, ChatGPT, or Messenger. It's a headline news because Apple is cutting its commissions to 15% to fuel this fire, signaling they want to replicate the multi-billion-dollar super app economy seen in China within WeChat. This is the biggest shift in the app economy in over a decade. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I've been having trouble wrapping my head around what this actually means, because it was when I was trying to understand it, it was saying, it gave me an example, like instead of downloading a separate Spotify app, you would access Spotify directly inside your messaging app, or booking a hotel inside ChatGPT without ever leaving the conversation. So what you're describing as far as the people, the Wild West of people being able to develop mini apps, I'm not understanding yet. Like, I get WeChat. WeChat is awesome. It keeps people inside the one ecosystem. And I know Grok was trying to do that. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around how how people are going to be able to develop mini apps within these large platforms like Instagram or WhatsApp, because I would think that Meta would be kind of hindering that. Or am I just not understanding it right?
Well, I maybe I'll just give you my understanding, and maybe that'll help, maybe it won't. So yeah. I would say keep an eye on your big three, like Discord, Telegram, and ChatGPT. These are the platforms most likely integrate this first. So like, you go in your ChatGPT app and there's app inside there, or you go into Telegram and there's an app inside Telegram to do something, whether that's create an emoji, or based on this conversation send the Venmo money we just agreed to, or all of a sudden you can now plug in apps inside apps. And so I can say, here's my top three Telegram apps to help you get rid of the spammers, connect with people properly, and receive money. I don't know. I'm just making that up. But
Yeah.
they're apps that exist inside of Telegram that connect your other apps or whatnot. They don't necessarily apps that stand alone.
So what you're saying is the apps within WeChat aren't developed by WeChat; they're developed by third party. Some of them.
Correct.
Okay. So that's where I wasn't understanding it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so now we've opened this up. You're not just developing for iOS, you're developing apps for apps inside there, and which means that the ecosystem is completely opened up again. And we'll have to see what rules and stuff they put in place. But with all the AI coding tools and whatnot in place, this sounds to me like it's a great time to get into building new apps. And now that Apple's only taken 15%, not 30%, that's also nicer.
Oh, how nice of them. They're only taking 15%. There's even a platform, by the way, that we haven't talked about offline even, that will automatically build you native iOS and Android apps now.
Great. There's a few of them out there, but I'm really interested in looking at this. Developers must implement several key technologies to participate advanced commerce API, declared age rating API, and Apple in-purchase integration.
Yeah.
So there's a few things they got to include, but it's interesting when you start getting your head around this. I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
For sure. Yeah.
So I think if you regretted it and you're a developer, now's the time to start really thinking out of the box and what kind of apps, mini apps, or like I'm going to say, for lack of a better word, app-to-app apps inside that you want to build that will allow you to do things. So the original App Store created the gig economy. This update aims to create a creator economy of software, tiny bite-sized apps for everyone. Is it a true revolution or just a chaotic mess? We're about to find out. Let us know what you think about these mini apps, or will you be developing, or you prefer an old way?
Mm-hmm.
All right, John, what do you got going on?
Oh, just probably digging out of snow as this is coming out. So, but ramping up for shred season and government funding is with the new fiscal year coming in a few months. So, going to a few events. If you need help with government funding, reach out on LinkedIn, John Irwin, if you have any questions. How about if they need help with anything else related to their startup, Craig? And what are you up to?
Definitely head over to TorontoStarts.com. We have workshops and events happening there all the time. Everything's there. Sign up for our newsletter to make sure you don't miss anything. There's coaching. There's a podcast. You'll even find Silicon Scoop over there. If you're looking for direct coaching, head over to startupcoach.ca to find how you can book my time, and we can have a discovery call and get you back on the road to doing things, your business growing. We do monthly events at Startup Drinks TO. Again, all of these things are at TorontoStarts.com if you are interested. And for business AI and automation, head over to flowgrammar.ca, where we help businesses achieve faster lead response time, speed to lead, among other things. We have different packages. So go check that out. If you're looking to implement AI in your business and don't know where to start, go over to flowgrammar.ca and book a discovery call. And for everything else, flowgrammars.ca is our community hub. That's our Toronto Builders Hub. There's free workflows. There's our builder events. There's a bunch of stuff over there, a bunch of free tools. And demos on how to use them and build them. So go check that out all over there. And John, if they're looking for government funding, where do they go?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn, John Irwin. You can book right through that link, right through LinkedIn. So come find me.
Thanks, everyone. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone.